We underestimate how little power a single human used to have, even over a woman. Today, a man can still give a woman what he used to give tens of thousands of years ago, but women's negotiating power has not significantly grown just yet. Women's needs are the same until the violent man becomes the perpetrator, until physical abuse becomes a non-negotiable. One thing parents do not arrange us into when they give us to a spouse is the ability to have boundaries. The minute a relationship starts, the standards of that relationships get defined. We can start having boundaries with people later in life, but the best is if we can establish and enforce them early on and into the relationships. Even if the possibility of referring back to or changing boundaries persists, there will always be a security that a relationship will stand on. This is what the package does not get a person. Marriage need not stand without social capital next to monogamy. It is most ironic to me how the very people who lack boundaries tend to be the ones with the least feasible social capital in a marriage and individualism-led world. You might righteously ask, if I have to be so humble in a marriage, does that mean I will be more comfortable within a community? Not necessarily, which is why many people still settle for the comfort of marriage. In a community, however, there are certain roles one can fill, which is what happened when I started cleaning my dishes in my family, where my parents both punished me for and saved me from the consequences of my actions. One did they distributed chores perfectly. I thought how to open the tap and clean the plates after using them. I had never been incapable of doing, but for some reason I was never taught that. We vote with our actions, and in scripture, words are responsible for life or death. Having the same values in a household does not automatically imply we are in peace 24/7. Rather, we must die to ourselves at times or change. Our personal preferences come into play. During my research, I have interviewed men on their opinions about many things. I once asked a man why men obsess over cars. His response was, because unlike with living beings we own, we can feel with cars that we control them, that they will never leave, that they are the one. He added, we can beautify cars and feel special for doing so. We can renovate them and make them look unique. This man just described positive ownership in a nutshell. Most men take better care of their cars than their girlfriends and wives. If it were up to men without technology, many men would find themselves in the desert in terms of ownership. I wanted to talk about women hating each other. No woman hates on another woman without first having been pressured to do so. The dynamic of skinny shaming or, the strength going right against the expectation to be skinny represents this the best. Weight is energy. It is a scientific fact that a person's body weight decreases when that person passes. When we lose weight, because the universe does not like void, we also attract the same energy from external sources with the same intensity. This can appear as aggression, and in most cases it is, to the person losing the weight. Fasting is active energy loss. Fasting indicates a level of speeding metabolism and gaining momentum. It has been scientifically shown that a person who fasts for more than 3 days has their metabolism rate increase, though people with low body weight to begin with were more impacted by increased anxiety levels rather than the metabolic benefits in the scientific trial. People do not realize the tragedy of womanhood in a man's world. While a woman's greatest asset may be looking beautiful, her body also is used for her to live with. Because she was born with her body, she cannot change most of her physical features without affecting how she feels about herself in the process. Life is a constant energy exchange. We cannot heal anorexic people, for example, without giving them a safe container to fluctuate at in terms of energy levels and receptivity. Unfortunately, most of the dating we do today makes women unrealistically prone to receive energy that they never ever deserve whatsoever. Remember what I said about beauty and aggression? Anorexic people minimize internal fluctuations to avoid initiations facing them in their external reality, since they are already weak enough, literally. There are more people with eating disorders than we may realize. There is one thing eating cannot protect us from, though, and it is cancer. Cancer is not a disease. Our thoughts belong to us primarily. When we forget to mind our business and give into our ego expression rather than our heart's desire because we are feeling like it, or because we feel detached from another person, we may never know what the other person is thinking or going through. Perceptual realities bear the weight of this world. We may feel unimpacted by the words that we speak, but they get to their destination, eventually hurting one innocent girl at a time, or boy. It is as if we sacrifice girls' innocence for a few minutes of pleasure at a time, with no outlet for that woman to pour into. We do not realize the type of world that we are creating with this behavior, and I am talking about every person's internal world and system primarily. Young women have an incentive to embrace and take care of the smaller members unconditionally. They are probably best at doing so the more we abuse them into adults, who will at one point behave like a man instead. There are skills, gifts, and talents to each age group and member within a community, but modern society does not leverage this because age is just a number, they say, and we wonder why the elderly suffer in hospitals with a growing population of youth doing the same, and we wonder why women are choosing not to have children like it is a test, a contest. A woman saying no to her own reproduction or delaying it to the degree that her children are impacted is not a Toyota test drive, it is final. We wonder why, and it is about time that we do. The role of marriage used to communally, ritualistically exist, and thus life-changingly meaning something. Nowadays, it seems that we almost expect it, even though there are many alternatives available, such as not marrying. focusing on career, and marrying outside the social group, or marrying a different person after divorce. I know that options are plenty, but not exhaustive. Women are pressured to find for themselves before they ever settle, unlike any time in the past, and the reason for this will be listed as follows: a partner. The vision can burn out too when we look at strong light for too long. When we look away, we see a blank area instead of the reflection of light on what we focus on. Myopic people have this blind spot too. They may focus on a text up close in dim lighting, but they cannot decipher what is written if the material they read is so close to their eyes that areas surrounding the center area are visibly seen, but the area focused on is blurred or faded. It just so happens that the healthier a person's distance vision, the more they can see small, fine letters close to the eyes in dim lighting, according to the Bates method. The same can happen to our emotional compass. Sometimes we see everything around except for the area or the emotion we want to focus on. We have tunnel vision instead of laser focus. But the thing about, again, protection is that it also protects from distraction, which is not necessarily needed in a lack of distraction, surrounded by green, and a lack of unsafety. We can trust in what we do not know there. Having talked about having excessively talked about marriage, I want to introduce you to an existing tribe in which the members do not marry. The Mosuo are found at the bottom of the Himalaya mountains in China, and I found an article in a woman's magazine from years ago, which I found wrote so exhaustively about the tribe that I am reciting the whole writing word by word, translated to English for you. A female child is the greatest blessing there. A concept of domestic abuse is practically unknown. Technically, the man does not become the breadwinner when he starts a family, but when he becomes an uncle. The grandmother is the Lord. The true decision makers are the women. One of the main drivers of the community are respect for women and love. Love has no materialism behind its existence. The spiritual world. The tribe is not considered by the Chinese government to be one of the 55 official Chinese minorities because its size is too small. The group is an animist one, praising Mother Nature primarily. Animism is descriptive of the belief in that each object, thing, and natural phenomena has its soul and spirit. This religion has been greatly influenced by Tibetan Buddhism recently. A significant portion of male individuals choose the lifestyle of a monk. There are some unique ones among the tribe's traditions and customs. The tribe especially respects dogs, as according to someone, dogs lived to be 60 years old in the beginning of times, while humans passed around the age of 13. The dogs signed with humans to exchange lifespans with the condition that they will caretake them with special respect. The children are never left alone. Men travel the country with caravans selling their products. For centuries, the tribe has been living on the shore of Lake Lubu, 2,700 meters above water level, in a picturesque environment. The nearest city is within 6 hours of driving distance. The place is surrounded by two specific areas. The lake and the mountains provide a gorgeous landscape. The tribe has approximately 40,000 members, also called the Women's Kingdom. Isolation made it so the tribe has sustained and conserved their customs and traditions in an interesting way, up until now. Zohun, or walking marriage, is without a doubt the most intriguing custom. When a girl turns 13, after a unique ceremony, she receives a separate bedroom in the house called the flower room, which is where she lives. From then on, she can choose which man or men she wants to get close to. She is free to choose as many or as few lovers as she wants in her lifetime. Marriage, which is no separate word in their vocabulary, works as follows. When a man receives an invitation from a woman, he can visit her and even spend the night with her in the flower room, but he must go back to his mother's house at dawn, which is where he lives his whole life. So there are no mama's boys there. That's normal. The wooden houses generally have multiple floors with multiple generations and genders living together. However, partners do not live under one roof. The children are raised by the mother and her relatives, and fatherly roles are filled by the male members of the family, brothers, uncles, and they have no word for father either. Needless to say, fathers are present in their children's lives. They just do it differently. A man's role in matriarchy. It would be a mistake to believe that the tribe's male members do not fill important roles. They are far often, for centuries, they have been traveling the country with caravans, selling their products so as to make a living. They are responsible for fishing and constructions too. Last but not least, they sustain the family, including the children of their closest female relatives. They do not give anything to their own children, but they are responsible for those of their family members. So, who's the father? That's an interesting question that many of these people may ask. The tribe is often mentioned as one of the world's lost matriarchal societies, but according to others, the emphasis is on matrilinearity, meaning that name, status, wealth are inherited and passed down from the mother's lineage, and in exchange, men play an important role in politics. Looking at the entire group, we recognize that here too men are the decision makers in politics, while women tend for family members. Since wealth is passed from a woman to woman, women remain financially independent throughout their lives. Since women are not dependent on the man financially, the tribe's marriages differ from the majority of the rest of the world's marriages, in that these quote-unquote independent relationships flow more smoothly on their own. After getting to know each other, the romantic partners receive gifts from each other to symbolize their committedness this way. This present used to be a handmade belt. Nowadays, the couple gets a new phone instead of the customary gift. In the tribe's culture, relationships are built on the foundation of shared feelings. If one of the parties feels as though love has succumbed, he or she moves on without being interrogated or questioned. Still, however, or perhaps it is because of this very notion that relationships often last a lifetime, which is interesting to me as the author because it has been shown by science that in patriarchal societies, women are most likely to leave committed partners whom they out-earn, outperform, or no longer respect. So basically, financial means mean a huge thing in our Western culture, impacting loyalty as well. The end of an era or something new. It is a great question whether the tribe's tradition will be part of the past or the future. Recently, new roads and even an airport have been added. So it is expected that new influences will soon leak into the communal life. The closer the tribe lets the world, the more foreign habits they will adopt and be faced with. The youth marries outside increasingly more. However, tribal traditions tie them to earning to two places, both their families if they do. The reason why a growing number of babies are born outside of marriage these days is that mothers have become more financially independent in the few previous decades. At the same time, families are getting smaller as a single mother can raise one or up to two children. However, a household like this is drastically different from one where generations live with and help each other. In the eyes of the outsider, the tribe's traditions project forth the future of the institution of marriage. Although the tribe is often referred to as the perfect representation of a society without men, this idea is faulty. Contrary to popular belief, men here are not walking gene providers as previously detailed. The fact is that the tribe provides and has been providing an excellent family model whose power is being rediscovered today. For a while, it has been getting proven that the nuclear family might not be necessarily the ideal family model for all, and that the tribe does not know the concept. And the tribe does not know the concept even from distant tales of the mouth. Written by Julian. I feel like women are forced today to be men. I cannot say this enough because men have a duty, a purpose, a calling behind being men. Imagine going against the purpose and callings of your gender, which is quite impossible if you think about it, to do what the other gender does just to survive for yourself. I do believe there is an upside to both imbalance and out of alignment dynamics of patriarchy and matriarchy. It is what most of our ancestors have never had the chance to do, which is realizing what we lack and actually going after it. I feel like we have desires in this generation that most people never had the chance to even like think about. Even the most selfish men do not just survive for themselves, and yet women are forced to do exactly that. Plus, you have this kind of baby impression effect where someone judges you based on the first interaction you have. This would not happen in a world where everybody, if not by being born into it, gets to meet their family early on in a kind of pure state. Especially women who are quicker in their younger reproductive years, and often even more tolerant of all types of masculinity and femininity, and more receptive to kind of adopting values belonging to these extreme polarities, meaning they are not only easier to influence, they are extremely transformative and creative, which is good for life. What struck me about the tribe I just wrote about was that women got to gain full independence by the time they turned just 13. I personally got my period on the third day after I turned 13. A woman being so respected at that age would be unimaginably, in most of today's world, be embraced. But especially where I grew up, which just so happens to be a strict Christian country with cold weather during winter and kind of complacent men who sparsely activize themselves before marriage or before they so desire to marry a woman. That is kind of not the case. I am not against any religion whatsoever. I just do not like limiting myself to one. I do not like myself being limited to only one faith, one love, one place by force. The reason why women feel apathy towards being and living like a man is that women's self-sacrifice is not outside of the household but inside it. Women belong in the house and they are raised there more to take care of it too, to this day. Many people do not like this, but women are not primarily caregivers or caretakers. Still, many women choose earning like a man, and most who do it because they do not like to feel limited. Despite the fact that many women who earn like a man succeed, most women, assuming they had been grown up in a matriarchal system, would not build resentment towards men whatsoever. Divorce is overhyped, at least as much as romance within marriages is overhyped. Let's face it. At the same time, we give children no outlet, a place to go that is legal and where they can stay on their best behavior, and we even discourage them from speaking up. No wonder the majority of divorces are initiated by women, the most oppressed gender.